Hi guys. So no beard. Anyway, I'm gonna make a small video about my quest for a 50 BMG rifle in Sweden. So let's see if I can find my little document I prepared. Yeah, there I have it. So this started a while ago now for me. In 2010 to be precise. I applied for a 50 BMG to be able to hunt with it, which in hindsight probably was not that bright of an idea. I remember I posted about it at a Swedish forum, and the local FUDs tore me a new asshole, basically. What do you need that big a caliber for hunting, etc. Imagine the worst kind of Helmer FUD kind of hunter times 100, and you can kind of imagine the response I got for that idea. So yeah, that did not go too well. I applied for a license, and in 2011 I got denied the license. It took a long while before I got denied, because they waited for some kind of expert opinion from the government agency that handles hunting, and they basically told that I talked to the persons there, and they had some coffee and some nice cakes, and they just discussed it. This is after I think 9 months. Then they took a coffee break and had a small discussion about it, and figured that, well, why should they have that much fun, basically. So they basically told the police, no, well, don't let him have that for hunting. No good reason at all. So I appealed that decision from the police, and in December 2012, this is 2 years after I applied for this rifle, I had a hearing at the courts with the police. It was several cases, and this was one of them. This is when I got my license for my Dragunov DMR/sniper rifle, my SVDS. So the courts told the police that he should be able to have that rifle, but not the 50 BMG single shot rifle, because that's oh no, I remember now. The reason I didn't get it from the courts was that while these 2 years passed, I bought a 338 Lapua Magnum rifle, and the courts basically decided that, well, what should you have a 50 BMG for when you can just use this 338 Lapua Magnum? Use that instead. Fuck that. So I didn't get the license that time for hunting. And that was basically the reason the courts decided. So in the summer of 2013, I applied again for a 50 BMG, this time for a sport shooting license. I figure, well, it's probably a stupid idea to hunt with a 50 BMG anyway. I already have a really big heavy rifle for the 338 Lapua. It's much more, it's a bit overpowered for hunting, but I use it for moose and bear hunting, but yeah, it's good enough. I don't need a 50 BMG to hunt. Yeah, not many people do. Anyway, so I applied for sport shooting license. I was planning to introduce 50 Caliber Shooters Association to Sweden, and in April 2014 the police decided to deny me that license, and they had several really interesting reasons to deny me the license for a 50 BMG. And now I should show you a picture of this rifle. It's a Heinrich Fortmeyer 50 BMG single shot repeater rifle. It doesn't have a magazine, it's specifically made for sport shooting, and it's basically the most harmless rifle ever made. It weighs a lot, and it's really big and awkward with a 50 BMG bull barrel, so it's not something you shoot from the shoulder. You have to lay prone to shoot it. It's a big rifle, only meant for target shooting, basically. Well, you could of course hunt with it, but yeah, it's not recommended. Anyway, so they said that this rifle had a pistol grip, which made it which made it so that you could fire it from the hip. Why you ever would want to fire a 50 BMG single shot rifle from the hip, I do not understand, but they told me that it was military with a pistol grip, and that's not allowed. There's no rule for it, they just made that shit up. So it's really dangerous. It gets magical military properties if you put a pistol grip on it. I guess power drills with a pistol grip also have these magical military properties. The tripod I'm using to film this has a pistol grip, so it obviously have military properties as well. I don't know. And it has a free floating barrel with a like, not a handguard, but I think that covers the barrel, a tube. And they told me that this was very naughty as well, because I could put accessories on that, like a bipod or something, I guess, which I need to be able to shoot it. Also, the caliber was very dangerous. It could fire a bullet up to 2,000 meters, 2 kilometers, which is really interesting. I could perhaps hit a car at 2 kilometers with that rifle, but the bullet would go like 6 or 7 kilometers if I fired it about 30 degrees angle towards the horizon, which I would never do because that would be silly and dangerous. You always fire the bullet with a good backstop, so you know where the bullet goes. That's one of the important rules of firearm safety, which the police knows nothing about. Anyway, so a lot of bullshit reasons, and they totally misunderstanding basic firearms principles. So they denied me that license, and I appealed, of course, to the first level of court. And in March 2015, I won that case because the police knows nothing about law or guns. So then the police appealed that decision to the courts, because they think that this is such a dangerous weapon, this single shot 50 BMG rifle, that if criminals could get hold of it, that would be like a national tragedy or something. What the police probably knows but choose to forget is that criminals prefer handguns, not like what could it be, 20 kilos more with an optic rifle, single shot 50 BMG. Has there ever in the history of firearms been a criminal act with a 50 BMG rifle like that? I'm not so sure. Anyway, so that was one of the reasons. One of the other reasons was that in 2015, January 2015, new weapon laws came into effect, and the police referred to those new laws in this case, which started in the summer of 2013, and in this April 2014 the police denied me the license. So in 2015 new laws came, and when the police appealed the positive decision for me, wanting a denial of the license, they reference new laws from 2015, which is against the Swedish constitution, it's against rule of law, it's against pretty much any state that tries to have some kind of semblance of law and order. This would perhaps be okay in North Korea, but probably not even there. Yeah, they didn't understand this. Since this is a level higher of courts, this could have an effect of other people that applies for licenses, because they referenced laws that could apply to a lot of different firearms. So I made sure to have good legal representation. And my lawyers basically looked at the police appeals and just shook their heads and said, this is the worst we have ever seen. And it became worse because one of the arguments from the police was that I did not have access to a shooting range where a 50 BMG rifle could be fired, which I did have. At the time I had access to at least I had a contract with one shooting range, but the police applied pressure to the people at that shooting range. They basically told them that, and they insinuated that if you still would like to have a good relationship with us at the police, like keeping this license for a shooting range, you should change the rules so this caliber is not longer okay, which they did. And I don't blame them. I don't know hard feelings. They don't practice any shooting with 50 BMG at that shooting range. They have zero reason to allow it. And it's still only a 50-meter shooting range. I would never even have used the gun if I got it at that shooting range. So it's totally pointless for me to even hint that I would use that shooting range, because I never would have. Anyway, they still fell to pressure. But I had access to other shooting ranges, and in Sweden you can shoot at your own private land if it's not zoned for property or something. So out in the forests it's okay to shoot. That's what you do when you're hunting, basically. So I have access to a lot of different private land and ranges far exceeding a kilometer if I wanted to. And that was always the plan, to do my 50 BMG shooting at those places. So long story short, now I have access to a shooting range closer to where I live. That's only a 500-meter range, but actually the entire division of the police that handles, the central division of the police that handles applications and gun law stuff, a certain person called Peter Torssell. Any Swede who knows anything about firearms laws knows who this person is. So anyway, that person in the flesh visited this shooting range to try and intimidate them. That did not work because the person responsible for things there knows of this person, and he's basically the biggest gun grabber in Sweden. He tries to ban everything. If you Google his name, you're going to find debate articles and letters to the editor in different newspapers trying to basically smack talk AR-15s and scary guns. He doesn't not know that much about firearms and even less about laws. I could make just a video of all this very stupid stuff he's said and done. And anyway, enough about him. They tried to intimidate that shooting range as well, but while they did that, I was still like 5 steps ahead of them and had made sure I had written access to a lot of different shooting ranges, and I have contacted those writing the rules about shooting at private property in Sweden, the civilian shooting rules. I talked to those people and the people that writes the rules for military shooting ranges and everything, and had on paper basically how it's supposed to work, and the police can't really argue with that. And I sent in this long list of basically me telling the courts this is the way it works in Sweden, and this with references to all the rules and everything, and signed by the people that had written the rules. So the way it works in Sweden is when you're not actually at court, we're not at court discussing this, because when they appeal I get a chance to respond with my lawyers, then the police gets a chance to respond to that response, and it goes back and forward. And it's gone back and forward since March until basically today or yesterday. And now the courts have basically told me that we do not give a fuck about what the police says anymore, because we don't care. We're not gonna get in touch with them again. we're not interested in what they have to say. We're going to come to a decision now. So in about 2 to 3 months we shall see what will happen with this 50 BMG license. Hopefully the courts take my side in this. It would be really strange if they did not do that. They have zero reason not to. It should be perfectly clear that police have no knowledge of how firearms work and the laws that govern them, or how to perform the duty, or basically how the constitution of the Swedish society works. They know nothing about this. It should be my lawyers basically wrote to the courts and said point by point and said, this is how the police works. They are making it impossible to have a shooting club in Sweden when they argue like this. Because it was a moment 22, a catch 22 in English. They said, I need this to be able to do that, but I need to do that to be able to do this, with the result that I would not have been able to do anything. And that's not how it's supposed to work, basically. Well, I could go on forever about this. I have literally thousands of bullshit papers regarding this case. But hopefully, if this goes through, 50 BMG shooting should be possible in Sweden, and depending on how the courts write the decision, it could mean a lot of good things for shooting sports in Sweden. And it only costs me about $3,000 in lawyer fees to get this done. Thank you, Swedish police, and your total disregard for the Swedish law. Well, anyway, I'll keep you guys posted, and have a nice day.